Hello there everybody and welcome. In this video I'm going to give you an overview about the Primal faction in the Primal Fury DLC. I'm going to introduce all the things that you can create with them, go over their cultural roster, and go over their cultural spells, cultural buildings, and those individual things that make them unique. I'll draw my own conclusions, leave a few ideas for you, and I hope that this video will give you a good overview about what's inside this DLC and whether you will like the new faction or not. I'm personally mad in love, and well, what you will think. So we're going to go into the faction creation first, and I'm going to cover what we can do there. There's also new species in the DLC and new skills, but I will cover these in a different video as I really want to focus here into the Primal Culture. So you might already notice you only get 1 point, and that is because you get to select a spirit animal for your Primal faction. And these are, as you see, really various. The real cool part about this is that each animal really has a huge impact on your gameplay. So each animal will set a favorite terrain for your culture, which gives you an individual bonus. It will set up which animal you can summon as a mid-combat summon, and you also will get a special cultural bonus that will kick in when your units are in the heat of battle. So this is here, for example, the Maya Crocodile's Boon. So when your units are fully amped up, they will deal extra blight damage and inflict disease to the enemy. There is a unique set to each individual spirit animal, with its own bonus, its own terrain, its own animal, its own boon, and its own everything. This thing is really massive. I think it is really even way more than the Reavers in terms of general content. The special gameplay mechanic behind all these animals is they give you a super easy access to terraforming spells, researches, and other things. So you get an easy way of transforming the entire world into your favorite terrain. There are various strategies. The Tunneling Spider features knowledge and vampirism. The Sylvan Wolf features pack tactics, which grows stronger the more units you manage to stack around the target that you want to punch. There is freezing attacks on the Glacial Mammoth. There is spell ranged attacks on the Stormcrow, pouncy skirmishing things on the Sabertooth, blinding attacks on the Dune Serpent, and disease strategies on the Crocodile. So there's an insane array of different builds that we can go for behind these, as we already have a ton of different tomes that interact with the terrain. I really feel like this will close the link between those tomes and the culture that can actually really interact with it. I'm really down, and I'm really curious to see what kind of crazy builds I will concoct out of this. But overall, you get a faction that has 7 different sub-paths that you can't play. I think no other faction has so far so much innate variety, and I'm really happy to see that. And I deep down inside hope that maybe we might get something for the classic factions like this as well. This would be dope. You know, tribal, different barbarian tribes, different houses from the high culture, different kingdoms. I don't know. I see a lot of future in this concept, and I really love it, as this is really good. This feels like a prestige class or a sub-specialization or a subclass. Amazing stuff. So, it is really not the time here left in this video to now talk about all the different things that you can now combine with this craziness, but we're going to go now further into a save file of mine where I have this whole thing running, so we can go over into a real picture of all this. So, here I played a goat people tribe that was worshipping the Glacial Mammoth just because I wanted to try out the new necromancy. Did I already mention that necromancy had a massive overhaul? Yeah, I bet you already knew. I'm going to do a different video about that, but let's just say it didn't work out too well. The build sucked, but this is really excellent to showcase what we got here. So, tribal cities excel at food production. They also gain access to tribal shrines. Here we have the Glacial Mammoth Den. Once these are annexed, you can build yourself a mammoth temple that will start terraforming around the city into the preferred terrain. This is really massive and can get a lot of different interactions going. The other traits or the other cultural buildings that we have available are nothing special but not bad either. The Woodcarver's Workshop offers a splash of draft, which is interesting because you don't see a triple production building too often. And on top of that, we gain then the Stone Steely, which is a production and food income building, which is in all regards a massive thing, you know. It helps you building cities, I like that. And the Shrine to the Spirits enhances farms massively. So huge city growth is absolutely a thing with this faction, as food production is insanely easy. This is really, really a powerful thing that enables you to get expansion victories in quite easy. Every faction also can build their own megalith. Here we can build that in the snow provinces, and it'll enhance production. Every culture or every totem animal has a different bonus on their megalith, because their megalith will of course interact with the corresponding terrain. That's pretty clear. Now, let's move over to the spells that we have available for these. The Ancestral Harmony spell is what we get to heal our units, and if they are on 5 stacks of their cultural trait, which is basically just hitting 5 times or using your skills, you basically gain these charges with all manner of different things you do in combat. And if this Fury of the Glacial Mammoth is active, you double the effect. During this effect, you also have your units on Super Saiyan mode, but I'm going to go into details about that once we hit the roster. We also gain a combat summon. Every faction gets to summon their spirit animal in combat, and this is powerful, as I really think combat summons are one of the most strong tools to disrupt the AI, and I don't know how it plays out in PvP, but you can really do some stupid shenanigans with that, and I've been able to beat the AI on grounds where I actually shouldn't have, because I was able to spam the battlefield with these baddies here. And like I said, this build is bad. It is not good. It is not well optimized, and it still did a lot of heavy lifting with the spell. Of course, you also gain access to the enchantment, which gives you the racial skill available for all your foreigners. Now, let's get finally into the roster. We have a ranged attacker, which can shoot and jump away. So they get to deal their damage and then jump backwards. They have a low range blowgun, so their range is considerably lower than other units, and they gain this Rising Fury thing. I want to explain this once, and then I'm going to go over it with the other units. So every attack here gains 1 stack of Rising Fury. Once 5 stacks of Rising Fury have been reached, they go into the racial or totem animal bonus. So here they will gain a +4 on frost damage and have a chance to inflict freezing. This is where you want to have your units, and the fact that even a measly tier 1 unit can go all of a sudden into a relatively high damage mode, which is mixed damage all of a sudden, and can freeze, does make a pretty big difference. Other animals offer AoE. There's 2 animals offering AoE and other shenanigans. So this Rising Fury mechanic gives your units the ability to grow hot during combat and excel in that area. Now, nothing much more to say about the darters, except for that the low range makes it a little bit harder to work with them, but due to the fact that they have the disengaging shot, there's really nothing to sneeze at. It's a pretty good skill and overall secures the safety of these. On the other hand, we have the protectors, which are, well, attackers that buff themselves with Rising Fury, and they have access to Primal Renewal, so they can remove their Glacial Mammoth stacks and then gain HP per stack removed. So this is really, really a nice self-heal mechanic that they have available. Apart from that, there's really not that much to say about them. They do their thing, and well, as you see there, nothing much to say. It's a tier 1 unit. They often come down like that. Spirit trackers come as mounted units, which can be useful for mounted strategies, and they also have a bit of a higher sensing range, but that was all the specialties that I found. Oh, I forgot to mention Primal Concealment. They can move stealth over their native terrain, but that's that. Then on tier 2, we have the Animist, which is a reliable ranged attacker. They don't inflict decaying by nature, that's just a racial enchantment. Glacial Mammoth Boon, they gain 2 stacks of Rising Fury because they only get to attack once. Spiritual Healing gives the unit 3 stacks of Rising Fury, and this is really, really massive. So they heal and boost the Rising Fury of the recipient, so you can speed up the enablement of this skill. Primal Mammoth Summoning, well, once these guys have 5 stacks of Rising Fury, the shamans themselves get to punch out a combat summon, which is crazy, which makes these supporters really worth attacking. So they are delayed summoners, but this can be this fits into the theme of a delayed power spike of a whole faction because that's pretty much their identity. But the capability of your army, if you can pull it off, to all of a sudden summon 2 or 3 units a little bit delayed into the combat can offer so much disruption, which can make really the combat shift to your favor. This is a massive skill, don't sleep on that. I really like their supporters. Their downside, though, is that spiritual healing has a relatively high cooldown and the healing effect isn't too high. So you might need a little bit more to keep your armies together than just this skill, because I personally don't think it is enough healing to withstand the blows that this faction has to take. Not the Necromancer. The Primal Charger is the other tier 2 unit that we need. And, well, they are tier 2 shock units that have a charging mechanic. So the further they run, the more damage they do. Their cleaving charge is interesting as it is an AoE that goes with plus 20 damage per hex traveled. It caps at 60%, but a 3 hex attack with a plus 60% damage makes these guys quite devastating. If they get to march into a vulnerable front where they can't get a full access to the cleaving charge, this really hurts. But apart from that, they have the typical vulnerabilities that shock units have, but it is worth mentioning that with the help of an Animus, they can gain 3 stacks of Rising Fury, and it's just 1 blow away from going all nuts on the enemy. So if you have any abilities that make your units act another time, like spur to action on your commanders, this can do really, really wacky things. They are, all in all, a powerful disruption unit that your roster will need, as your frontline is relatively flimsy until you hit tier 3, and that's where the Ancestral Warden jumps in. Literally. Primal Lunge is his special attack, which allows him to travel 3 hexes and deal damage to adjacent enemy units. This is pretty sick, as he's also entering defense mode after this, so you have really powerful pole armors. I think these are probably among the most powerful polearm units in the entire game, not counting the golems, but the fact that these guys can reposition themselves how they need to, and deal a huge portion of splash damage, and be a tier 3 unit that has pretty decent base stats overall, really high base damage, and also the ability to go into this crazy boon mode later down the road. Well, there's really, really a lot of goodness going on with these guys, and I really think that this roster altogether offers you a lot of capabilities, especially with the availability of combat summons. These guys excel at skirmishing around, pouncing around a little bit, delaying blows, and then going all in after a couple of turns. So What's really important to say, and what I really noticed the longer I played them, they suffer from attrition quite quickly as their playstyle. You know, they are flimsy. It's tier 1 shields that you use for your frontlining, and until you have tier 3, your frontline stays that flimsy. So adding in tome units that give you a little bit of a more solid frontline in the tier 2 area come in very handy, or you can amp up the healing power. In either way, I personally felt like this is a very, very versatile kit that can be played in so many different ways, as the game offers us a tremendous amount of variety in terms of tomes that interact with these terrains. So for these guys here, the no, the ice mammoth people, for example, cryomancy path comes in as a natural fit. You can do this just, you know, cold dark is just a very good fit to these. And I've seen, or I've thought about pretty much one good fit of a tome immediately when I looked at any of these totem animals. So there is a lot of good things going on there as well. So, my good friends, that is all that I had to say for this one. What do I say as a conclusion about it? They rock. They do have so many different playstyles, and I'm really looking forward to experiment around with those builds that will be coming up in the upcoming week. So you might already be looking forward to that. And yeah, I'll keep you posted with more details. This was just a quick overview. What I personally disliked most about them is their relative flimsiness, especially since their animists can't heal up too many blows. But boy, the damage once the primal bonuses kick in and the summoning scheme hits hard. This is really one hell of a thing. And yeah, I can't wait to play around with it on the future videos with you. And feel free to let me know what you think. Drop me your comments, leave me a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Check out the description box, plenty of links to go around. You can also find my Discord there, also my Twitch channel where I do stream quite regularly, and feel free to support the channel on Patreon, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. And you might also want to check out my YouTube channel membership thingy, where you can early access all the stuff that I have scheduled for release. That's the only service that this channel membership provides, but I felt like it's a nice way of saying thanks. So, thanks for your support, and thanks for watching this video up until the very end. I really appreciate it. So, looking forward to this new DLC, and I hope so do you. See you there.